Hello, welcome to the algebra set that we are going to be learning. So here we go. Slope. Slope is defined as the rise over the run. Also, the y values on the top of a fraction. The x values are on the bottom. And it's also shown as the change in y over the change in x. So how this works is we write our change in y over the change in x's. So what we do is we take our two y values and we write them down and we separate them with a subtraction sign. And since I started with this y value, I have to start with this x value. So this is my x. This is my second x with a subtraction sign in between. And then I just do the math. A lot of kids learn it as keep, change, change. So keep this sign, change this sign, change the next sign. Keep it, change it, change it. So we end up having -9 on top of a -3. These negatives become positives because negative divided by a negative is a positive. And 9 over 3 is also known as a slope of 3. We can look at it as 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So you can leave it like this. You can leave it as a 3. That's up to you. All right, let's look at another one. The change in the y's over the change in the x's. Now, if you want to start with this y, you can totally. But if you start with this y, you must start with this x. So let's look at it like that. If you want to go 5 minus the 1, you would have to go -3 minus the 3. If you start here to here, you have to start here and go to here. You're going to get the same answer either way. 5 minus 1 is 4. And keep it, change it, -6, which we can simplify this to a 2 and a -3. And just remember this, it doesn't matter if the negative is on top or on the bottom or right smack dab in the middle. These three things all mean the same. Okay? So -2/3. They all mean the same. So change in y over the change in x. -5. 5. Subtract between. 6. 1. Subtract between. Keep it, change it, -10 over 6 minus 1 is 5. So that will equal -2. Okay, so that would be our slope. You could have -2 over a 1. That's up to you, but -2 is your slope. And last but not least, some teachers do want you to put the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In New York State, for the Regents, it doesn't matter if you write this or whether you write the change in y or the change in x. You just usually write that first. So then you take your y's, put a subtraction sign between them, and you take your x's and put a subtraction sign in between. Keep it, change it, keep it, change it. That ends up being 9 over 9, also known as 1 over 1, which is also known as a plain old 1. All of these are acceptable ways to do slope. Now, bringing back the concept of rise over run just means we do the y's first. And if you were on a grid, this is the rise before you run. or the opposite, going down before you run. It's up to you, but that's what it is all about. So I'm just going to flip this over just to give you an idea of what this all looks like. So a positive slope, when you're kind of looking at what a positive slope would be, as the points move from the left to the right along the right of the line, it's rising. So it's kind of like you're climbing a ladder, okay? A negative slope, as the points move left to right, it's kind of like it's falling, or it's like a slide. So it's like a ladder, and this is a negative slope would be a slide. I just wrote a little example here because if you notice, let me see, let me zoom in a little bit for you guys, that a positive slope would be no sign in front, and a negative slope, like I said before, it can be on the top, it can be in the front. It doesn't matter as long as one of the pieces is negative. Now remember, they're both not negative, both pieces, because then that would revert to a positive. And then at the bottom here, a zero slope and a no slope. A zero slope is when the numerator, the y values are 0, but the x values are something else, so the answer would be 0. And a no slope is when the line is parallel to the, when it's a no slope, no slope, I'm over here. No slope is when the line is parallel to the y. That's when there's a 0 on the bottom, which means it's undefined. But over here, when it's a zero slope, the zero's on top, not on the bottom. If you really think about that, being parallel to the x-axis, that could be 0 because you're not having any movement. It's kind of like a flat line. If someone passes away, it's a flat line on the TV shows when there's no more heartbeat and it just goes, so that's like a 0. Whereas a no slope is undefined, because if you think about it, can you have 3 things out of 0 things? No, but can you have 0 out of 3 things? Yes. So that's why this can be 0 choices, but this is undefined. So that just helps you understand that a little bit more. I hope this helps. And as always, this is Miss Bobby, and I love math. And Diet Coke. And CrossFit.